So it's a season of activities. That's lots of food, lots of drinking, a little bit too much drinking sometimes, and this can take a toll on our health. Now, headaches are one of the symptoms of a stressed and unrested body. That's why we brought in Dr. Boyo to give us some tips on how to get rid of headaches, or at least deal with them when they do arrive. Doc, it's good to have you join us again this morning.
Good morning, viewers. Yeah.
So we're talking about headaches, yes. And there are different things, especially during the holidays, that can bring on headaches. Can we just talk about a few of those things?
Yes, the first thing is stress. And stress is defined as when what you're going through in life is beyond the available resources, whether emotional resources, physical resources, and you come across stressors or triggers, and the resources you have already get overwhelmed by the triggers we're talking about. So that's one thing. Another thing, people tend to have headache from allergies as well. You know, and then there are people who have what we call primary headaches. These headaches are not due to any disease. They just come as a result of, they just come on their own, like migraines, cluster headaches, and things like that. Now, the first thing you should do when you have a headache is to identify the duration of the headache, the frequency of the headache, what part of your head it is, because headache is pain in the head or around the neck. So you have to identify where is it located and how often does it come, and when it comes, how long does it last.
Right, so these are some of the things that you then look out for to be able to deal
with the headache. And then we have the secondary headaches. These secondary headaches are as a result of underlying diseases like hypertension, malaria, and things like that. So when you have a headache, you have to ask yourself, in addition to this headache, what else do I have? Do I have do I have a temperature? Do I have a cold? Do I feel like throwing up? Do I have a tummy ache? When you have associated factors with these headaches, it makes headaches more significant, and it helps the doctor to know what he's dealing with. It is said that 9 out of 10 people in their lifetime will have a headache. And every year, at least 1 out of 2 persons will have a headache. So having a headache is very common and can be as a result of stress, diseases, or those that have migraines. They can identify when it's coming. Migraine is a headache that is persistent, is pounding, and it can last 72 hours, at times related to lights, related to sound, and in some cases, migraine just comes on its own like that, and it can be very debilitating. But you have to distinguish migraine from cluster headaches. But we're not going into that yet. Let me just state very clearly at this point that when you have a headache, you must be ready to check your blood pressure.
Which is why you have.
So I just did this straight away. Especially if you're above 30, in other parts of the world, if you're above 40, but hypertension becoming very common with black people, and so you need to have your blood pressure checked. You can have a blood pressure apparatus at home, run by batteries, and when you check your blood pressure, if it's within normal, that is below 120/80, like people say, you have the top, the diastolic is underneath, the systolic is on top. That should not,
so
we don't want to bore people over 80.
Over 80 should be
a normal blood pressure. And in some people above 50, we accept 130/90 at times. So, basic thing is that without a headache, it's good for every adult above the age of 30 to have what is called is baseline blood pressure. But do you know your blood pressure, sir?
Well, I took my blood pressure last, I think, in September.
Yes, and what was it?
It was 110/70.
Okay, very good. And you have an idea. So when you do your blood pressure and it goes higher than what you know your resting blood pressure is, and you check that maybe you didn't take it at a very, very wrong time. Maybe you've just finished quarreling with madam at home, or you just got bad news. No. You just feel the headache and you check your blood pressure.
Right.
Once your blood pressure is within the normal range, you can now eliminate other things. Is this a consistent headache that comes maybe during your period if you're a woman? Women tend to have more headaches than men anyway, because of their hormones. So you have to ask yourself, when did this thing start? What triggered it? If you can't fix anything to it, then you begin to ask yourself, what do I do next? And this is where we are today about home remedies. So the first thing you do is think, have you rested well? You want to have a rest. Are you into drinking? You may want to stop it and say, okay, maybe it was the last thing, or I had too much of wine or some other things, and you stop it. Are you smoking? You want to quit smoking. Are you having an issue with maybe over the period of time you've been in a very difficult, stressful situation, and you can want to review it and then go down on it? Have you been sleeping well? Maybe over the last 48 hours, you've been at work, you've been running, maybe you're a driver, you've been crisscrossing the country, you want to rest. So the simple thing is rest.
So that's the first thing, usually.
Rest. Yeah. No, the first thing is identify.
Yeah, of course, yes.
Identify where the headache is, where the pain is, identify the duration, identify the frequency, identify the pounding nature of it and what part of your head it is. Then you now want to check your blood pressure. We ask every Nigerian to above, that's an adult, to always have what you call a blood pressure check and know what your normal blood pressure is. And after checking your blood pressure, ask yourself, have you slept well? If you've not slept well, take a good sleep. Then have you taken anything like a meal, a drink that you know triggers it? Maybe you smoke or you take alcohol.
There are people who say even caffeine triggers
some people
headaches
find
for
that if
them.
they take caffeine or even, unless, I mean, tea has some amount of caffeine in it sometimes. So you have not decaffeinated tea. Or maybe you took, it may be very, very innocent, innocuous thing. Like maybe you found out that each time you make love, you have a headache, then you get ready with your painkillers. So, because you can't avoid that, or Madame wonder what's going on here.
Yes, indeed.
So we have simple painkillers, over-the-counter things, that generic names that you now go and buy. You can have such things at home for first aid, so that when you have a headache, but when you take these things, make sure that you have checked your blood pressure, make sure you have eliminated trigger factors, and if you're under stress, make sure you rest.
Yeah. But one of the things I wanted to ask,
Yes.
there are people who talk about having consistent headaches that never seem to, they never seem to be able to completely eliminate it. So there's nothing wrong with them, but they have a headache and then it goes and then it comes back. So well, how do such people
That's
deal
why you
with
first of all identify whether it's a cluster headache or it's a migraine. In migraine, it pounds. It pounds. It's pulsatile. You could feel as if a vein is beating somewhere around your head, you know. And then it's associated at times with noise, with lights, at times with a particular, you can even predict it's coming, like a train is coming and you hear the sound, you know a train is coming. So in migraine, you can feel that way. And then it lasts at times 72 hours, you know, in migraine. And then when you know you have migraine, you know it's going to come over and over again. You have to get your drugs ready. It's good to see the doctor so the doctor can identify it as migraine. Because you know one thing in this country is that we give names to things. You just say, oh, this could be migraine because you had a headache yesterday, doesn't mean it's migraine.
or because somebody described it,
Yeah, it doesn't
or
mean
you
migraine.
Googled it.
Yeah,
or
oh,
something
that's
like
it.
that.
Uncle Google, I call him. And then you have to now be able to eliminate this. Is it pulsatile? Pulsating. Pulse. Is it
Yeah.
pulsating?
So does it go-
And yeah, is it pounding? And then you ask yourself, is it at a particular spot you can put your hand in? And then can you predict this outcome? It's about to start. And then if you take your drugs in migraine, it goes away. Although there are some difficult ones that don't really go. Then you can ask your parents, does it run in the family? If it runs in the family, then you know, is there any good rest? And avoid what you call the trigger factors, like lights, sharp lights, you know, like that's why you say flash photography, for instance, on television. They warn you in advance that, look, this program you're going to watch has some elements of flash photography. So if you have migraine, you avoid it because there are some types of lights that can trigger migraine. There's some types of sounds, you know, and some people also get to have a headache when they go into maybe they have bad news or they go into very protracted and very, very bad arguments. They just find their heads pounding away. So like we say every time, if you have a headache, whether it's migrainous headache, cluster headache, whatever headache, check your blood pressure first. Don't just say it's not hypertension, because hypertension is the greatest killer of black men in the world right now.
Wow.
Yes, in terms of the level and the rate of the epidemiology of hypertension. So we always advise that people should do, like I said before we close, the secondary headaches also matter. These headaches as a result of underlying diseases like malaria, like, you know, like typhoid. So you must check whether you have an associated temperature, blood pressure, you're having a running tummy, you just find yourself dizzy, or you find yourself convulsing.
In which case you definitely have to go to a
the
hospital.
hospital as soon as possible. Right. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dr. Boyo.
right,
It's always a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you very
As you
much.
educate us, you know, it's always almost like being in a classroom.
Don't wait for
sitting,
2 or 3 days before seeing your doctor. Always
Yes.
ask yourself questions.
Thank you so much.